As it's international break, we are going to have a little bit of fun. There's going to be no protest chat, no Graham Potter chat. 2 topics today, 2 videos today, something a little bit different. Today, we're going to be tier listing the last 40 signings at West Ham United. How successful have they been? Then later on, we're going to be taking a look at the free agent list and see if there's any freebies West Ham could pick up. Frankie, thank you for joining me. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So the tier list is here. We've got 5 categories. We've got fantastic, obviously the creme de la creme, the transfers we love go up there. Good, positive influence, done well, but not quite as good as some of the other ones. Then we've got meh. For whatever reason, they were just okay, average. Then we've got poor. So the ones that perhaps had a negative influence at West Ham or didn't quite reach the heights we were looking for one reason or another. And then we've got terrible, the worst signings. Now, before we start the tier list, a couple of rules. So it's 40 signings here. Steve Howard, thank you, Steve, for your suggestion. He suggested this. It doesn't include the signings we've made this summer, because how are we meant to do Magassa? We've never seen him play. We can't possibly rate this summer's signings. So it's from summer 2019 up until January 2025, every single signing for the senior squad. And that's important. I haven't included those that haven't participated in the senior squad. So there's no Mohamed Conte, there's no Frederick Alvarez, for example, there's no Luis Yao. They're not included, but there's 40 players. And Frankie, me and you're going to debate. We're going to take everything into consideration. Transfer fee, everything, how they got on, any factors we need to consider when evaluating this transfer. We're going to decide which 2 to put them in. And at the end, you've got one overrule card if you want, where you can move someone and I can't say no, and vice versa. So come the end, you're unhappy with someone, you can move them, and I cannot deny you the movement. Ready, rock and roll?
Ready, let's do it.
Like, here we go. It's an alphabetical order now. They're all in, most of them are in kits from former clubs to help me identify them, because they're quite small on my screen. If they're all in claret and blue, it would be quite difficult. I'm going to start with Naif Aguerd. Where do you fancy putting him, Frankie?
I'm going to go with meh.
Okay. What's your reason?
I actually don't think he's the worst. And I guess it's context, isn't it, with this sort of stuff? So there's so many factors as to what makes a good transfer or not make a good transfer. Do I feel like the player that they highlighted to come in was the right type of player? I actually think he was. I actually think from a scouting perspective, he probably was the ball playing type centre back we actually needed at that particular time. It got off to a terrible start. And obviously he made a bit of an iffy mistake and got that injury, which, look, whose fault's that? It's very difficult. It wasn't the best.
I'll say it's unlucky. I think getting such a serious injury in a friendly, I think there is an element of just bad luck.
Yeah, and that's that. So, and did he ever really recover from that? I'm not sure he ever did. So, look, he played some games. He don't look like the worst player in the world. I mean, there's a lot of comments that he's not suitable to the Premier League. I think he probably does work in the Premier League in the right team with the right players alongside him in defence and in the right system. So, look, he's not absolutely the perfect Premier League player, and I understand that. But there are plenty of defenders who come in who are you would say are suited to the Premier League, who don't work out either. So I just feel like it's a bit of that. And look, the way it ended wasn't very nice. I don't think his character shone through very nicely at all either. But I'm trying to be a bit balanced here, Geo, and not let that affect my decision. So that's why I've put him in meh.
I'll let you have him in meh. Personally, I'd put him in poor, but I'll let you have him in meh. Bought him for what, 35 million, sold him for 18, 20 million, a significant loss. And the reason I'm going to be kind, and that is the injury he sustained at Ibrox and friendly. I think had he not got that, he might have went on and had a completely different career at West Ham. But I am one of those that don't think he's suited to the Premier League. So for that reason, I think it was a poor transfer. I think it was a poor identification of a player. I don't like his attitude towards the club whilst he's been here at times. Clearly, there's a good defender there, just in a different league, in a completely different set of circumstances. I feel quite confident he'll go on and be a good signing for Marseille. He's a good defender, but not for me. So, but I'll leave him in meh. I'm not going to argue too much on that one. Right, here's a player. Do you know who this is?
I can't see it from here. I've got to be honest.
I'll give you a clue. It's in alphabetical order.
Yeah, don't help me, mate. My brain's not thinking.
Ajeti.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember him?
I do.
No.
Yeah.
I barely remember him, to be honest with you.
No,
I'm just popping him in poor, but we'll discuss it. I don't know where to put him, Frank. I can't remember him. I can't remember him at all.
Yeah, no, I do. I do remember him.
I remember signing him. Just to clarify, I remember signing him, and I remember he made a few appearances for us. I know that, but I can't remember any performances off the top of my head. If you were to ask me which games he played in or anything like that, I couldn't tell you a thing. I remember us signing him. I remember sort of looking him up, and because it was about 10 million, which is what I call punt money, especially for a striker. I think 10 million for a striker was punt money, and I think we did that. We took a gamble, but I don't really feel like he got a good run in the team. I don't think the circumstances were good for him. I think it was just a wrong move for him more than West Ham, if that makes sense. Post West Ham, couldn't tell you what he's done. I remember I think he went to Celtic at some point, but I can't tell you too much about his career, to be honest with you. I don't think he's terrible for me, because I think there's worse signings than him because of when you include the financial factor of it as well. But he certainly wasn't a good signing, so I think I'd put him in poor personally.
Yeah, I was just having a look now, just seeing what he left us for, because I was just intrigued.
What was it?
He went to Celtic for 4.8 million.
At least we got half our money back, I guess.
That's quite. If he had gone on a free, I would have said it was terrible. Because if you bring a player in for 10 million, he leaves for nothing. I don't think that's good business at all. But because we got half of the transfer fee back, it probably does make sense.
Here's one of the trickier ones to do with it. I think there's a few difficult ones here. I think Edson Alvarez is maybe one of those difficult ones to do, because I think some players, is it that category or that category, right? You can make an argument. It's between two categories. For Alvarez, I think you could make an argument, there's at least three categories that you could potentially put him in. Where would you fancy putting Alvarez?
It's quite similar to the Aguerd situation, to be honest. A player who, again, probably came in at the right time, the right position that was needed, the right type of player that was needed, but ends up not really working out, doesn't have a good attitude, leaves under not great circumstances. So I'm pretty much mad, because I do think he had a bit about him. It's a tricky one.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was really pleased when we signed him. That was a bit of a coup at the time for West Ham. I was excited as to what he could bring. And there were some big performances from him when he was at West Ham. I remember, because we do the player rating show every game, it sort of helps with this remembering part of it. And I remember some games giving him the man of the match and saying he looked like the governor out there for West Ham in the middle of the pitch. But those games were few and far between, and there's maybe quite a few in his first season. I think there's quite a few of them. In the second season, I don't think there was any of them, if maybe one at most. And I'm disappointed overall with his time at West Ham, and it's not necessarily because of him. There is an element of him, of course there is, because there was some stupidity from him. But those red cards he picked up was just brain dead decisions by him, getting stupid sending offs, and he did it back to back as well. Was at Liverpool and then Nottingham Forest. He got like similar red cards quite close together. That's unforgivable. That's like he said, that's attitude. That's like not caring, really. But I do think there was a good player there. It's hard to evaluate it completely because he hasn't left the club yet. He's on loan at Fenerbahce. Now, I think he's got a hamstring injury, so I think he's gone on loan there and got injured straight away. So he hasn't, if he'd left for, say, 25 million, we'd say, okay, we got most of our money back. It's not the end of the world. We'll wipe our face and move on. But we don't know that yet. So for now, I'm okay with Mayer. Talented player, but I feel like he should have done better than he has. Not 100% down to him, but a lot of it is. Alphonse Areola. Here we go. We can start filling up the top of the tier list, I think. Maybe? No? Go on, give us your honest answer.
I'm just not his biggest fan. But again, I was about to say, Joe, I can't really go Mer again because we're sitting on the fence too much. So,
well, I think he's better than Aguerd and Alvarez. I think he's had a better contribution than those two personally.
Yeah. I mean, he obviously was a cup goalkeeper. Do you know what disappoints me with him, Gio? He was a cup goalkeeper for a long time. Yeah, that's what we kind of, when Fabianski was here, he was like the cup goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And then he had his opportunity where we switched that round. And do I feel he's ever really grabbed that opportunity with both hands? I just don't feel like he has. I don't think he's ever solidified himself as West Ham's number one. And I don't see him as ever being a West Ham number one.
Maybe we do put him in there then, because I think you make a good point. And also, he's not cheap. You know, he cost 12 million or whatever, plus he's on 100 grand a week. So it's not like we plucked him from the bargain bin or anything like that. We paid big money for a keeper from PSG here with Champions League experience. And what you just made there is a really good point, actually. He was the cup goalkeeper. And if we didn't have European football, this would possibly be a worse transfer than it is. It's a good transfer because we've had European football, and therefore he's picked up plenty of appearances, and he's had a big part to play in also winning a European trophy because of that. But I guess the flip side of that is if we didn't have European football, we probably wouldn't have signed him in the first place. We brought him in so we could have two really strong goalkeepers. It's up to you, Frankie. I'm happy to put him in good, but I'm also happy to leave him in May. I'll let you decide. I think he's here somewhere. I think he's better than these two, but I do think there's going to be some other players we might put in good, and perhaps he's not quite as strong as them. But I think it's the money side of it for me, isn't it? He's not cheap. I don't know. He's sort of here for me, so I'm okay with whichever tier you pick.
And the other thing that's fresh in my mind, Gio, is that I feel like he's a big part of the reason why we had to go out and make a goalkeeper move this.
Right. Okay. Look, man, you've convinced me. Right. Saeed Benrahma.
I was never his biggest fan, as you know.
Is there anyone that you are a big fan of? There's a couple coming up. The next one's all right. We're fine. The next one's fine.
I just was never his biggest fan. I just didn't really rate him. Look, what he achieved for us, the penalty in the final was so composed. To go up and strike that ball like he did under that amount of pressure was fantastic. I'm going to let you take this one, Gio. I've been very influential so far.
Right, and I'll tell you why. His contribution to winning the European trophy is significant. And also B, we pretty much got our money back. So we bought him for about 20, 25 million, and we sold him for just south of 20 million, I think. And I think in the meantime, I think we had some good performances. He was just inconsistent. That was all. I think he's a very confident player. And I think some games he'd go on a bit of a run. He'd look good. But if he had a poor game, it almost reset back to zero, and he had to sort of build up that momentum again. So I was never his biggest fan either. However, I think he was a good signing for us. He's a 6 or 7 out of 10. I think it was a positive signing for West Ham. I think he had some good performances, but he had a big impact on us winning that trophy in Prague. And for that reason, I think I'd put him in good. If there was maybe, like I said, if there's a tier here between the two, I'd put him in there with Areola, but there isn't. So I think I'll go good unless you want to relegate him.
I'm all right with that.
Right, we've got an easy one. Jarrod Bowen.
Yes, just when we signed him, could we ever have imagined that he'd go on to be the player that he's been for us? And signing a 7-year contract just puts him in that, without a shadow of a doubt, fantastic status. He's done something that is just isn't done in modern day football. So not only is the player superb and has already achieved so much for us, but also the way he's conducted himself for West Ham has been outstanding.
I agree with everything Frankie said. Maxwell Cornet.
Yeah, terrible. It's just very simple, that one.
Yeah, this is the signing I should get more criticism for. I get a lot of stick for Danny Ings, right? But I feel like I should receive more stick for Cornet because I absolutely loved that sign. When we signed Cornet, I was buzzing. I thought, brilliant. We've got a penalty proven player, 17.5 million. It's not too expensive. Score goals in a Burnley team under Dyche. He's going to score goals for West Ham. But my word, it's been shocking. I always think the worst signing you can make is when you're stuck with a player, you can't get him out, and also he's now just a hindrance. And I think that's what Cornet's perceived as at West Ham. So much so that we're willing to loan him out and pay 60-70% of his wages whilst he plays football somewhere else. I think that's when that is the worst example of a signing you can make, when you're essentially paying someone to play for another club. And that's what we've been doing with Cornet for a couple of seasons now. So terrible signing for West Ham.
Yeah.
Vladimir Coufal.
It's an easy one for me, Geo, and that's where he belongs. Absolutely. And when we talk about value for money for transfers, we often talk about the fee that we paid, the transfer fee.
Yeah.
What we paid this man overall in terms of wage and what we paid for him for a transfer fee, but wages is the big one. Yeah. He is probably the best bang for buck out of every single person on this tier list. He has been, we paid him a kid's wage for his entire time at West Ham, really. And the way that he conducted himself, the amount of minutes we got out of him, just incredible value for money. And even under all those circumstances, when he's there being paid a fraction of what every other player is getting paid, he made the odd murmur about it, didn't he? But every single time he went out on that pitch, he got on with the job that he was supposed to do. And I think that's just brilliant. Yeah,
I completely agree. I think he's right to complain because he felt, his version is he was promised a new contract and he wasn't given one. So I think if that's true, and here's the thing, I completely believe Coufal, by the way. I 100% believe Coufal when he claims that. I think he's right to be upset about it. But like you said, it didn't once impact his performances. He went out on that pitch, he gave it 100%, here's the thing, there's been some players that don't play well. And sometimes you do wonder if it's attitude self-inflicted. Like what Alvarez did with those red cards, that was just stupidity on his part, right? Coufal was never like that. If Coufal had a bad game, you knew it's just because he was up against a really good player or he just had an off game. It had nothing to do with effort. It had nothing to do with attitude. Those things were always bang on every single match. I absolutely love Vladimir Coufal, straight in that fantastic category. Now we've got the fun one. David Martin.
David Martin. Just for the moment that he gave us. Look, there's nothing that he did. He didn't pull up any trees. He didn't play enough games for us. He didn't do anything really negative. But for that Chelsea game, for the moment that he gave us, we'll put him in good.
Yeah, I completely agree. The thing is, he was never meant to play, right? When we signed him, he was a third choice keeper behind Fabianski and Roberto. And when you have that goalkeeper as your third choice keeper, I always think he'll never play. If he has to play, something's gone wrong. Whether that's David Martin, whether it was Wes Foderingham, something's gone wrong. Either your keepers are injured, your keepers are suspended, or your keepers are crap. And in our case, we had Fabianski injured and Roberto was crap. So David Martin had to play at Stamford Bridge. And we got we got a fantastic story. We've got a fantastic romantic footballing story. I put that picture on there. I know you won't be able to see it at home, but that's one of them is he's just celebrating. And the other one is when he's picking up his dad, Alvin, in the crowd. He's climbed over the dugouts and he's gone and gave his dad a cuddle. His dad was there watching him play, keeping a clean sheet. And what was an important game, an important win for West Ham as well at Stamford Bridge. One of my favourite away days, that one. I absolutely loved it. So I'm happy with him in good as well because he wasn't meant to contribute, but he did. More positivity. The positivity keeps flowing for now. Craig Dawson. Where are we going, Frankie?
Yeah. I really want to say fantastic. He gave me a massive moment in Lyon. That was my best ever away day. Just incredible. That the goals that he contributed at that period of time where he was just such a danger man from corners. He was just brilliant for us. And I just don't love the way it ended. And I know it's not his fault. And I know he had family things going on and he wanted to be up that part of the country and everything else. If we'd have got a little bit more out of him, then I would have been inclined to say fantastic.
Oh.
But I'm going to go with good, just because hurt me a little bit, Gio. I thought, again, you talk about romance. We had a story, we had a love affair. Craig Dawson come in, probably we didn't expect him to be anywhere near the impact that he was. In fact, he was a bit of a relegation merchant.
Yeah.
You know, so when he come in, it was like, oh, what have we signed here? And he went on to exceed everyone's expectations, and everyone's very fond of him. I just wish he would have seen it out a bit more, Gio. I wish he would have given us one more season.
I'm gonna argue with you, Frankie. I think he should go in fantastic. I think 2 million. He cost £2 million. His performances were incredible. I was very anti-Dawson when we signed him. I thought, oh, what's this? It's just a cheap option. I didn't rate him. You've gone from Watford to come in, and he was absolutely brilliant. He was just an old school, old-fashioned defender, but it worked. Going forward, he was a threat at free kicks and corners. He gave us that physical presence in the other box. Swore his heart on his sleeve in every single game, gave 100%, and he was a huge part of our recent success. And also, in regards to his exit, I actually think he handled it well, Frankie. He had a word with Moyes and said, look, I need to go back. But in the meantime, he kept playing and kept giving 100% to West Ham. And I think he stayed longer than he wanted to. I think he wanted to leave earlier, but we just couldn't get in a replacement. We couldn't sanction a move. Not once did he kick off. He just kept on giving 100% to West Ham. I think he's been one of our most successful signings out of this tier list, especially when we consider the fact that he was 2 million, Frank, 2 million quid. And I think if you were to look at sort of the Dawson we had back then, he'd walk into our centre defence today. I think he should go in fantastic, Frankie. I think he should.
Gio. You can have him back if you want him.
Well, that's the video later. We've got the free agent list to do. Right then. Am I allowed to put him in fantastic? I'm asking for permission.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Flynn Downes.
I like him, Gio.
Yeah.
I like him as a person. Obviously a West Ham fan. See how it goes, Gio. You want to leave West Ham, I go on the turn a little bit. When you're a West Ham fan and you stay around, and you know, I like you a little bit more. So that's just how I am. Look, he didn't do enough for us, did he? And it didn't work out. It was a shame because, again, what should have been that story of, you know, a West Ham boy, a West Ham fan coming in, and you just want that to work out even more than any other signing. It just didn't. But like you say, there was never anything amazing that he did. There was nothing bad that he did. He just didn't really get a crack, did he? So I think meh is the place.
Yeah, it's meh for me as well. We paid a fair fee for one of the best midfielders in the Championship. He came in. I thought he could have done. I thought he had a difficult gig at West Ham to start with. There were some games, you know, we played him in sort of in the number 10 role. There was I think it was Manu away, played sort of left wing at one point. You know, wow, what's going on here? So I don't think he had it all his way in terms of the platform to perform. And when he left, I was quite disappointed that he left. I felt, not that I say we gave up on him too easy, but we loaned him out first. And I thought, I don't know, I feel like he's got a part to play. I thought he had something to offer West Ham. And I felt like we maybe gave up on him a little bit too easy and too quickly. However, post West Ham, we can now see. And I thought he struggled a bit with Southampton in the Premier League, and he's looked good with Southampton in the Championship. And I think that's what he is. He's either a poor Premier League player or a top Championship player. And I think you get a lot of players that fit into the category. Too good for that league, not good enough for that league. So they sort of go between the two, really, don't they? And I think that's what he is. He's a top Championship midfielder. So I'm happy to put him in there, Frankie. I think we signed him for a fair fee and we sold him for a fair fee. And I don't regret selling him either. So that's how I'd word it. Emerson.
He's certainly in good.
Yeah.
Again, just that experience that he brought. That at that time when we went on that European run, the base of experience that we had contributed to that massively.
Yeah.
With the likes of Zuma, with Emerson, those wise heads. I think it's underappreciated on how much we moaned that the squad was aging. And that was a completely fair argument. And we certainly should have had more balance to that squad. However, that experience and those wise heads that we had around us at that time, I think are absolutely the reason why we were so good in European football. So, yeah, I thought he was huge contribution and a real key part to that little run that we had.
Yeah, I completely agree with Good as well. I think if people were to be watching this and say, oh, Benrahma, no, bring him down to me, I would understand it, right? I wouldn't argue too much if someone relegated Benrahma. But if someone said, no, Emerson, relegate him, you'd get pushback from me. I'd say, no, I'm not relegating Emerson. He's staying in Good. I think he's been a very solid signing. I think we paid 10, 11 million. Disappointed at the transfer fee we received for him, but that's not a reflection on him. That's a reflection on poor negotiating on our part, I think. But in between, I think he was very, very good. I think he had some poor games, but he had a lot of good ones. Moyes had one big call for Prague, Creswell or Emerson, and it was a big call. Went with Emerson, and he got it absolutely right. I thought he was our man of match in Prague. A fantastic contribution to the club, but I just don't think he's as good as the ones above him, and that's not a criticism at all. I just think to be fantastic, you got to be top, and I think he was good. I think it was a solid signing. I was pleased with him. I was quite vanilla to the signing when we made it. I thought it was okay, a bit boring if anything, but good signing overall. I'm happy with his tenure at West Ham. Right then, time for a loan move, Frankie. Evan Ferguson. So it's one of the bottom two, right? It's just how low you're going to go.
I'm going terrible, Geo. And again, it's not a reflection on the player. It's a reflection on the transfer at that time of what we needed. We needed someone who could add value, and we ended up with someone who added nothing. So for me, the actual transfer itself, forget the player, the transfer itself was terrible.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just to reiterate, a reflection of the transfer, not the player. I completely agree with what you said there. Still confused as to why we didn't see him more often. Still don't get it. Pablo.
I'll hand over to Mr. Fornals, as I refer to you, Gio.
Me and Frankie have had arguments about Fornals over the years in private. I'm too big a fan. He's not big enough a fan. Frankie would say I like Fornals too much. I would say Frankie doesn't like Fornals enough. And that's the arguments we've had. I absolutely love him. I'm going to put him in good. Now, obviously, you can contribute and we can argue if you wish. I think we paid a decent fee for him. I think we got some really good performances. And I think he's closer. I just want to say, I think he's close to fantastic for me. I think he'd be in that middle tier if there was one. Absolutely loved West Ham. Got some big performances, big goals from him. And I feel a little bit sorry that he wasn't quite in the team when it came to the end of the Conference League run. He was coming off the bench. And he was a big player for us in that squad, that goal against Alkmaar. But I do wish, if you said to me, how could Prague have been more perfect? As a West Ham fan, I would say Fornals did something. Fornals scored or something. You know what I mean? He had a bigger part to play in this story. Yeah, he was a big part of the club, but I think that part, and I feel a little bit sad he didn't have a bigger role. But listen, I think he's a wonderful footballer, gave 100%. And when players come to your club, especially from overseas, and they just absorb everything to do with your football club and they become a fan, I can't help but fall in love with that player and root for them and want to see them do well. And Fornals very much captured my heart. I absolutely love Fornals. I've been keeping an eye on how he gets on post West Ham at Real Betis. Hell, I went and bought a Real Betis shirt with Fornals on it. I love Pablo Fornals. In terms of his time at West Ham, it was a success. So I would put him in a good category.
Right. So we've had quite a lot of time between you saying that we've had some arguments over it. So there'll be some comments that have already been posted because there would have been a reaction there, which would be interesting to see. Just to be clear, I said earlier that if people love West Ham, then I have a big affection towards them. And
Frankie's never, I'll say this, Frankie's never criticised Fornals, the man or the person or anything like that.
No, and look, I'm the same as you. I think that the West Ham is massive, that he sung, the little meme, just everything about him. He was a brilliant character for West Ham. He understood West Ham. He got West Ham. And I certainly would have put him in good. And I'm with you. He's borderline fantastic. He was a great signing, someone who understood the club, and had a great relationship with the fans and continues to do so. So I am a big fan of the man, Pablo Fornals, 100%. But here comes the controversial comment, Gio. If he had a bigger role to play in the final, West Ham may not win the final. If you said to me now, prime Paqueta or prime Pablo Fornals against Fiorentina in the final, who'd you pick?
Well, yeah, Paqueta, but...
No buts. No, Paqueta. No buts. Paqueta. So that was my issue. I just always said that I thought he was a good player, just not a great player. Okay. And I actually feel that Fornals was more suited. We've said about Aguerd. I feel like he was more suited to Spanish football. I actually think Fornals has a bigger career if he stayed in Spanish football than the Premier League. I feel like
I agree with that.
Do you know what I mean? So that's only my only criticism.
But what I would say is I'd pick prime Fornals over prime Benrahma.
Yeah, that's a fair comment, and I would too. Fair comment. I like it, Gio.
Right then. Maybe a difficult one to do because he's still at the club. Niklas Füllkrug. Let's do it this way. Process of elimination. He ain't fantastic or good, right?
No.
He's at best man, at worst terrible. So he's one of these three. Where are you putting him?
Oh, that suggests he's in poor for now. But stories still can be told.
Up. Yeah.
He's got every opportunity he will have this season to move himself. To be fair, he's got every opportunity this season to move himself to good. Yeah. He could have a very good season that would move him straight up that list, but we're just not seeing it yet.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm a huge Füllkrug fan, as you know, but you can't. It's hard to make a case for him being anything but poor, given the transfer fee we paid. Also, a 4-year contract we handed him as well is wild. And until he can stay fit and score goals, it's difficult to put him in a different category. But what I will say is if he continues the way he has been so far this season, and it's only 4 games in, right? But we've had he's not been good this season. He's been poor this season so far. And now he's injured. If you were to replicate that throughout the season, he could also relegate himself to terrible. We end up selling him next summer for like a handful of million back to the Bundesliga. He goes into the terrible category because of the financial package that we've just incurred. So he's in poor for now, but like you said, he can move up to good, but I think he can go in any of those categories really. So I'll leave him there. Rodriguez.
Oh, terrible.
That's okay. I think that's a bit harsh.
I don't think it is. I think he's an awful player, Gio. I just don't. I know he's technically sound, and I won't take that away from him. He can pass when he's got time. Under pressure, I think, and the speed of the Premier League, I really don't rate him. I've never rated him, and I can't always sit on the fence or go a bit. I just have to tell it how I see it, and I just don't think he's been a very good signing at all, and I don't think he'll ever be a very good signing. If he never played another game for West Ham, Gio, I wouldn't be disappointed.
I think that's very harsh. Listen, is he? He's certainly not going in fantastic or anything, right? But he came in on a free, and I appreciate a free isn't a free, etc., etc. But there's no transfer fee attached, and he's a good player. He reads the game well. He's just too slow for the Premier League. So for that aspect, I'm not. By the way, I'd put him quite poor, but I'd be possibly poor. But I think terrible's hard. When you're looking at, you in the same tier as Cornet, I can't have him in there, Frank. I can't have him in the same tier as Cornet. There's other players that's going to go in terrible as well, and I don't think he can be on par with some of those because he had some good games for us. Last season he had a couple. You can count him on one hand possibly, but I think he's a decent player. I just think terrible's a bit harsh. I don't think he's that bad. I would like to put him in poor personally, but
it's harsh on Cornet that he's in the same tier as him.
Right, okay. Right, I'm going to let you win this one and put him in terrible, but I'm not comfortable with him in terrible. I'd personally put him in poor, but we'll move on. Guilherme.
Do you love him enough that you're going to use your wild card at the end, Gio?
No, to be fair, I was willing to use it on Dawson if you didn't allow me to promote him to fantastic, but you did. So at the minute, the only one I strongly disagree with at the minute is Rodriguez, but there's still half the tier list to go. But for now, we've got Guilherme. So what are you saying?
I hoped, and the thing is, Joe, we've gone out to Palmieri, and there was a few youngsters around at that time that were very, very good players, and he was one of them. There was 3 or 4, Estavo, or Esteval, however you say his name. There was the one who went to Real Madrid. What was his name? Hendrick. There was a few of them, and we got one of them, and I was really happy that we'd I thought we'd had a little coup, that we'd gone out there and signed an exciting flair attacking player from Brazil, that would come in and potentially have a good relationship with Paqueta. And, you know, I thought he was we had a good role model already at the club for them that I thought would help them settle in, because sometimes these players that come from, you know, America or South America come over, it's hard for him to settle in. But I thought he had that kind of support around him that would have been really good. And I thought you'd see Paqueta and him really sort of almost like friendship group type thing. I just haven't seen that. And I know he hasn't had loads of opportunity, and his time may still come. And there'll be plenty of people screaming at the YouTube video now going, he deserves his opportunity. Yeah. And, you know, so... But at the moment, it's massively reserving judgment. It has to be meth for me, because I think it's just, it's just an untold story.
Completely agree. Like you said, reserving judgment. There's still a long way to go in his career, hopefully at West Ham. Like you say, Füllkrug, it's difficult to see him suddenly becoming a success at West Ham. It's difficult to see that transfer being seen as a success next summer or the year after that. I think things would have to change, but with Guilherme, actually, you could see it, because he's got time on his side, that in a couple of years, you know, if we change manager next summer, for example, it might be too late for Füllkrug, but actually it's still plenty of time for Guilherme to go on. I'm still hopeful. I've liked what I've seen. I just haven't seen enough, so I'm going to leave him in May as well. Sebastian Haller.
It's another one of those ones that should have and had every potential to be better than how it played out. I think the big problem I've got is what we paid for him versus what we sold him for. And I think in such a small space of time, to take him from at the time, what was seen as pretty much one of the, I mean, how high do you put him?
Yeah, he was a top striker in European football when we signed. Frankfurt were scoring loads of goals, and he was a big part of that.
Yeah, so that's where I am with it. And unfortunately, he came in and he looked good from the start. I was at Watford when he scored the overhead kick, and all the promise was like, it was there. We thought we'd got our striker that was going to be for the next 5-10 years, however long he plays it out. So it was, I thought we'd finally got our man, and unfortunately it unravelled so quickly. So I think it has to go in poor.
Yeah, I'm going to put him in poor as well. And it's one of those transfers, I'm looking at these, it's one of the ones I'm most angry about, actually, because I think we did sign a top striker and it just didn't work out. The talent was clearly there. And then when he left West Ham and he went to Dortmund, and he showed exactly what he's got in the Bundesliga and in the Champions League. He was scoring goals in the Champions League as well.
He became the fastest player to score 10 goals in the Champions League. It was incredible.
He was a top striker. He was a top talent. We just didn't see it enough, but it was a poor transfer for West Ham. We lost 15 million on him in a very short space of time. And I don't think one of two things happened, or both. A, we signed the wrong striker. Or B, we signed the right striker, but we didn't play to his strengths. And I think there was an element of both. I think it wasn't quite exactly what we needed, but I think we could have done more to incorporate him a little bit. And I think he certainly had the ability. Sometimes you sign a player and it's worth building your attack around him. And I think Haller could have been that, but I don't think we did that. So, yeah, I'm disappointed by how it worked out. But like you said, this is a reflection of the transfer, not the player himself. This next one could be a reflection of both. Danny Ings.
He was your man, weren't he?
Yeah, he's got going terrible, isn't he? He paid 12 million, highest paid player in the squad, and he's a couple of good, important goals. Nottingham Forest in the league, away to the Belgian team, Ghent or Genk, which I always get muddled up, whichever one it was, in the run to the Conference League. That was an important equaliser. But apart from that, it was just nothing. There's a few half-decent performances in there, but the bar was low when he was looking good. I think Fulham away looked good, and then he didn't play the next game. But yeah, just a really bad. I was excited when we signed him because we came in January. We needed goals. I thought, brilliant, we've got a goal scorer. We're going to change the way we play. And we're going to get the best out of him. But we didn't. We played him up front on his own. So we put him in a position that was made for Michail Antonio. We signed someone that was completely opposite to Michail Antonio and put him in that position. Just a terrible signing all round by West Ham. Don't know why we did it. Big waste of money. That's all I've got to say. Frankie's sneezing away. He's finished sneezing. What are you saying?
I feel
allergic to Danny Ings. That's the problem.
Do you know what? I'm not. There's plenty of players on here, and do you know what? I feel that those players that are alongside him there are very valid in terms of his basically what he achieved at West Ham. But do I feel that he deserves to be in there is the same character? You got to look back, Geo. Do you remember when he was coming on in like the attacking midfield role? Do you remember that couple of games that he played where we brought him on? We've given up on playing him as a striker, so we brought him on in sort of that attacking. And for all of what he was going through, every time he stepped out on that pitch, he gave everything. Yeah. He really was a trier, and no one could question that. Every time he was given an opportunity, wherever he was asked to play, he did everything that he could.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I think from that perspective, but again, at the time, and it seems like we're always looking and needing this striker that we long for so much. That's just going to be our man for the foreseeable future. We just never seem to get it right. And unfortunately, he's another one of those that it was the wrong signing at a time where we needed someone who was going to come in and be effective for West Ham. So, yeah, I agree. It probably is terrible.
Andy Irving.
I'm going to go with meh.
You almost said poor there.
I did.
I'm an expert lip reader.
I wouldn't argue with him being in poor. But is it his fault that we signed someone who isn't at the standard that I expect for West Ham?
I think you're completely right, Frankie. We paid a handful of million for him. He's worth a handful of million. And we've had a little bit of fun in between. And hopefully we'll get a couple of nice stories attached to him between now and when he departs West Ham. He's never going to start week in, week out for us. But I think he's a low-cost, low problem, low maintenance midfielder that will give 100%, and that's what we've got. I think we've just got one of those sort of players that will be around for a little while that never really takes an opportunity, never really gets an opportunity, but also doesn't cause too much fuss in regards to lack of opportunity. So he's meh for me. I'm just bang neutral to it. It's not good and it's not bad.
Yeah.
James Ward-Prowse in the wrong alphabetical order because I call him JWP rather than Ward-Prowse. So where we put in set piece.
I'm going terrible, Geo.
No,
I'm going there. I think we massively overpaid for this fella.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But and that's what you have to put everything into context. I think we got our absolute trousers pulled down on this one. I think what we paid for him, again, and it's the two ends of the scale. If you look at Coufal, all of the games that he played, value for money, bang for buck, return on investment, everything else, they are the two ends of the scale for me. I just feel like we signed him at the wrong time in his career for money that was the prime of his career money. He probably was worth that at some point, but I think when we signed him, he was already on the decline.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't disagree with anything you've said. I just think terrible's very harsh. It suggests no contribution. And I think his first season under Moyes, I don't know off the top of my head, but we got a lot of goals and assists out of him, maybe 18 goals and assists or something. It was a good season for him. Now, I completely agree. I've been a big one for saying we overpaid. And we are now in that period where we're approaching that period, which I discussed in regards to Cornet, where you're stuck with him. You won't be able to offload him. And if you do, you'd have to sell him for a lot less than you paid. And he will actually be a negative in terms of your PSR accounting. If you were to sell him today, it would work the same as buying a player because it was that bad. So I do think financially it's a terrible transfer for us. But terrible suggests, I don't know, I just feel like he's contributed something, and then I'd put him between poor and meh. But I think if we were to do this again in a year or 2 years, he'd be coming down the tier lists as well, because I think his contribution is going to get even less. It's not much at the minute, but I think it's going to get even less. I personally would probably put him in poor because of the financial aspect. Yeah, I think terrible's a harsh. I think more people will agree with you than me listening to this, and I get it. But yeah, I think he had a good season for us. Here's an interesting one: Thilo Kehrer.
Yeah, again, I didn't mind the player.
I liked him.
Yeah,
as a centre back, I thought he was dreadful at right back. Thought he was terrible at positioning, but centre back, I quite liked him. I'm not putting him in the bottom two, Frankie. I think it's between. No. He's obviously not fantastic either, but we paid a reasonable fee for him, and we received a reasonable fee for him. I think we almost broke even. I think we got what we paid for him, and we got some decent enough performances in between. So I think he's one of these two. He's probably in between the two tiers for me. He's sort of better than some of these, but not quite as good as some of these. So I'm happy whichever one you pick.
Yeah, I'm almost inclined to put him in the good section, mate. But the issue with that for me is I just don't, like when we've said moments of other players that we've gone, I remember that about him. Do you remember anything about a game that he had where you go,
I remember one thing about him.
Go on.
And that was him singing on the Doping Bus.
Yeah.
He had some good performances, but he also had a couple of bad ones as well. So he had a few stinkers in there. So I'm happy with May. I agree. I don't think his legacy at West Ham is quite comparable to Fornals or Emerson or Benrahma. And to put him above Alvarez and Areola, I would perhaps be a bit harsh on those two. Yeah. So I'm okay with him in the middle category. I think we've got a new contender we might actually have two new contenders for terrible. Calvin Phillips.
Yeah, it was
can
just
be anything but,
disaster,
can it? Jesus.
Disaster.
Own goals, red cards, big mistake. He's never recovered from it either. Went to Ipswich, he was terrible, and he's still at Man City. He just doesn't exist as a footballer anymore. He's just done. He was England's Player of the Year not that long ago, and he's just. I'm pretty sure he's still at Man City. I'm pretty sure he hasn't got a transfer away, and he's not going to be part of the squad. So he's just going to be lingering at Man City, picking up a wage, not playing football for 6 months at least. But I was excited when we signed him. I quite liked the signing. It was just. Jesus,
well, it was always him and Declan Rice in the middle for England, and we got rid of one. And you thought, if we're bringing in the other one, it's not a bad move. But it certainly didn't work out anywhere near that.
Alex Crowell.
Feel sorry for the man, but ultimately it's a terrible bit of business.
Mohammed Kudus.
I'm afraid it's a good signing. Ability-wise and financially, while I think we've nowhere near got enough what we should have done for him, it's still a profitable transfer in and the sale. So I have to put him in there, and I think he will go on to do big things.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. He had the potential. Quite a few of these actually have the potential to be at least one tier higher than they are, regardless of who they are. And I think Kudus had the potential to be a fantastic signing for West Ham. And I'm a bit disappointed he isn't. Brilliant first season, bad second season, 20 million profit. And we don't make profit too much at West Ham. So I'm inclined to agree. It was a good signing for us. Someone I think was fantastic, though, Jesse Lingard.
You have to. Again, sad the way it sort of finished, but let's be honest, Joe. What's he done since? Sometimes timing's just right. It was the right time for him. It was the right time for us. And if he had stuck around, he probably wouldn't be in fantastic because he's done nothing since. So, just one little moment of it just being absolutely the right thing. It was a fantastic move. Obviously, didn't cost us anything. Made us an absolute force to be reckoned with in that second half of the season. So, it was definitely in fantastic category.
I would love another player like Jesse Lingard. I think that's what we're missing. Just someone like him, someone that got the ball and was able to drive with it 20, 30 yards and gave us goals, gave us assists. And his output in that short spell was ridiculous. The amount of goals and assists he got was just unbelievable, completely unsustainable. But that signing, that was possibly my favourite time watching West Ham. That in the final season at Upton Park was the best time watching West Ham for me for as far as I can remember, to be honest with you. I thought that final season under Slav we were fantastic with Payet, we're scoring loads of goals. But under David Moyes with Lingard in the team, we were fast and exciting. And I liked it. Whenever we were defending a corner, I used to get excited because I thought, we get this, we're going to break, and we're going to break quick. And
I've got good news for you, Gio.
Go on.
We've already got the man.
Which one, Fernandes or Summerville or Guilherme?
Summerville will be as good at what you've just said there as Jesse Lingard was. We saw it against Nottingham Forest. And there is a massive difference between direct football and long ball football.
100%.
Direct is you get the ball and you drive forward positively. And that was what we've been lacking at West Ham at that particular time. We hadn't had anyone who just wanted to hurt teams. And Summerville come on against Forest and did exactly that. It was a very Lingard-esque performance, I think.
I agree. That's why when people say we need pace, I often think, not necessarily, because I wouldn't say Jesse Lingard was known for his speed, but he was so good at dribbling and he was so direct. So he looked fast. I've seen fast players, but they're not the most intelligent players. Adama Traore is a perfect example. He's someone that's quick and strong, but he's just not very effective. Like the dribbles he makes isn't always the cleverest ones. His final ball's not very good. His decision making is not very good. So he's got pace. He just doesn't use it very well. Lingard didn't, but what he did have, he used perfect. The runs he would make, the link-up play. It was just one of my favourite signings at West Ham. And I agree with what you said. Maybe if we signed him, it wouldn't have quite worked out. But we didn't, and it did. I'm happy. Mavropanos. Bit of a redemption arc from him under Graham Potter, I think.
Yeah. I think he's a good signing. I think he's, steady. I think he has times where he looks like he is threatening to be the centre-back for us. And he's scored some great goals, Arsenal away. He's had his moments, the man. And then he'll do something absolutely stupid or have this little spell where you get nervous around him and you think, and he's just so up and down. But, in terms of the centre-backs we've got at the moment,
he's the best one.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. So I've got to put him in good.
Yeah, I'm okay with that one. I'm okay. I think again he'd be in that invisible tier that we've got. So I'm not going to complain too much. We paid a decent fee for him, 17 million or something, and he is clumsy. He does have or had a big mistake in him every game, but I feel like he's ironing them out a little bit. I think he's been the best defender under Potter, going back to since Potter came in. Don't know why he's not played more under Graham Potter. And then during the international break, I've seen Jarrod Bowen say he's the most underrated player in the West Ham squad. I liked it. I liked that answer, actually. When I thought about it, I thought, actually, who would I say is the most underrated player in the West Ham squad? And I think there was an easy answer, by the way, for Jarrod Bowen there. Thomas Soucek. But he didn't. He said Mavropanos. And I thought that's quite a A good answer, an interesting answer to give. That's sure. I'm assuming Mavropanos would know about it. That's going to give him a confidence boost when your captain saying you are the most underrated player in this squad. You're gonna, hey, that guy knows what he's talking about. The captain's saying I'm the most underrated one. Yeah, I like him. Max Kilman from one centre back to another.
Oh,
do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go on.
Poor.
Where I was going.
40 million, 7-year deal. I think he's bang average at best. We'll see some good games. We'll see some bad games. Levels out in the middle. And if he was Mavropanos' price, I'd say, okay, put him in Meh or whatever. But he's not. He's 40 million. Speak about overpaying for Ward-Prowse. We've overpaid for Kilman as well. We bought Ward-Prowse for a manager with 1 year left on his contract. And we bought Kilman for a manager, only had a 2-year deal in the first place, but ended up leaving 5-6 months into the job. Crazy. £70 million we spent on those two. And 18 months after signing James Ward-Prowse, neither of those managers were here. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy when you think of it like that. 70 million, 18 months from start to finish. 70 million pounds we've spent. I think we've overpaid. I think he's an average Premier League player. There you go.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was going to put him in poor, and I was going to use the Ward-Prowse example that we've just overpaid massively. It's a ridiculous price, and that 7-year contract is madness as well. But again, this is the one that splits opinion. If we talk about not the player and we talk about the transfer, at the time, it was who the manager wanted. It was his number one choice of a signing for that window. That's who he wanted. He said, go all out. I want that man. You can criticise the guy who negotiated the deal, but that was what it took to get it over the line.
I understand the Ward-Prowse one more than the Kilman one, because with Ward-Prowse, we'd obviously sold Declan, so I had a lot of money there. So the club might have been looking, going, well, Alvarez and Ward-Prowse is 65 million. We've sold Rice, so we've still got 40 million in our back pocket here. So I kind of get it. And also, now I know there was a conversation around Moyes leaving at that point, but the club decided he wasn't leaving. We've just won the Conference League. I understand why you would back that manager and why you said, let's go get it, because Ward-Prowse was Moyes' number one target. I understand why you said, well, let's go back him, because there was evidence there as to why you should have backed David Moyes. But with Lopetegui, there was no evidence. There was nothing to say this is why you should go get his number one target. If his number one target was 10 million, certainly, but it wasn't. It was 40 million, right? I think to back a guy like that who you can't have that much confidence in, because A, you couldn't even agree. Those in the boardroom couldn't even agree on hiring him. And also B, you give him a 2-year contract, so you can't be that confident about him. Otherwise, you'd give him a longer deal. So, the Kilman purchase was just a bit wild. And this isn't even with the benefit of hindsight. A lot of people, I'm not even going to say, oh, I said it. A lot of people said it on this channel, not just on screen, in the comments. A lot of people was like, 40 million, 25, 30 million, sure, but 40. So it's just one that always felt expensive, and I think it's proving to be expensive. One that was expensive, Lucas Paqueta.
It wasn't. It was cheap.
Good response. Where are you going?
He's fantastic. His ball in the final to Jarrod Bowen. If he doesn't play that pass, we don't win a trophy. If you said tomorrow you pay that and it's 50% of winning the European trophy, then you say, well, it's worth every single penny. So for me, it's fantastic.
Dare I say, I would have him in here if there was a thing. I don't think he has, value for money. He's not compatible to Bowen or Coufal or even Dawson or Lingard, but I do accept he's greater than those below him at the minute with Mavropanos, Kudus and Benrahma and stuff like that. And I think it's just that period where he was under investigation, where we didn't have our version of Lucas Paqueta. It was and I think a lot of people are giving him a pass for that. And I think this season's the one where it's like, right, come on then, can we get the real Paqueta back? And I think so far so good. And I actually think he's done well under Potter even at the end of last season, I think he was showing glimpses of his old self under Potter. I have a lot of criticisms of the manager, but one thing I will say is it looks like he's willing to give Paqueta a bit of a free roll. He's willing to just take the shackles off Paqueta a little bit, try and get him higher up the pitch. And I like that. And if we can get no weight of the world on shoulders, shackles off Paqueta, we could be in for a bit of a treat this season. I'm excited to see Lucas Paqueta. When we play Spurs, I'm looking forward to Lucas Paqueta. He scored with Brazil, 4-4 now for him. That's a man in form. I'm looking forward to it. I'm okay with him in fantastic, Frankie. You won't get too much complaints from me. Right then, a couple of goalkeepers coming up. Let's start with Dan Randolph.
I don't really have much to say about it.
I think the thing is, though, well, actually, let's do it in reverse. So we've got Roberto first. So he's going in terrible, agreed.
Yeah.
One of the worst signings we've ever made. But because of him, we needed to sign Dan Randolph because we had to get him out the goal ASAP. Fabianski wasn't quite 100% fit. We were playing David Martin. So we had to get him back. So he came in to do a job, and he did. And it feels a bit weird saying the best thing he did at the club was to stop him playing football. But ultimately, that's what that signing was for. So I think I'd put him in meh, Frankie. You could argue that it's good because I think it was a free transfer at the time from Middlesbrough. Low cost wages, didn't cause us any problems. He just didn't contribute loads. But again, he didn't have to. So I guess if we're looking at David Martin and saying those things, I think to keep it fair, you've got to say those things about Dan Randolph in the sense that he did the job he came in to do. But I don't know, I just didn't have the story of David Martin. So I think I'd put him in meh, but I don't think it's certainly not a bad one as far as I'm concerned. Low risk and low reward. But you need some signings like that. It's a bit like the Andy Irving one, isn't it? So I think I'd put him in. I think I'd say meh, Frankie. But if you were to say good, I wouldn't complain.
No, I think meh's the right place. I wouldn't go as far as good.
Gianluca Scamacca.
I am going to go with...
It's one of these two.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm going to go with terrible. Again, big money. Warning signs were there. His family are absolute lunatics. The fact that he just decided to just totally disappear at one point was an absolute nightmare. It's just another terrible signing for me.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree. 35 million. He's one of those players I'd heard of, I hadn't seen play when he came to West Ham. So I was excited. I thought, because there was a lot of hype around it, weren't it? It was like, this is Italy's next number 9. And a lot of people that had seen him play were excited about West Ham signing him. So because of that, I started to get excited. Oh, here we go. And also because there's just that desperation. And the worst thing is I've still got that desperation. I've had it for over a decade now. Desperate to see a good striker come in at West Ham and score goals. Not really had one. Antonio scored lots of goals, but he wasn't brought in as a striker to do that. He was converted. Marko Navic has done it, but he wasn't brought in as a striker to do that. He's brought in as a winger and converted. But when Scamacca, brilliant, can this be the guy? Here we go. And I remember us playing Wolves at home. Frankie, I fell in love with him immediately. I was one game, I was hooked. I thought, look at him. This guy's fantastic. His pass to Bowen, and then I think there was a pass he did and it got rebounded out to him. And he's about 25 yards out. Just put his laces through it, just flew into the back of the net. Wow! I sit down that end as well. So I was like, wow, I'm watching this perfect striker, this handsome bastard up front for West Ham with tattoos all over his neck. He just looked like a gladiator playing up front for West Ham. I was in love. And then nothing. Absolutely nothing. Injuries, performances where he just looked like he was just walking around the pitch. Like he might as well just did an interview after the game saying, I don't want to be here. I detected nothing but inconvenience in the life of Scamacca when he played for West Ham and some of his performances. He just looked like he didn't want to play for us. A terrible signing, an absolute terrible signing. But a talented player, no doubt. And it's one of those, I think, had he just made better choices, he'd have a better career. But he's been riddled with injuries post West Ham as well. So it's not like Haller. And I know Haller's had health problems, obviously, but that's different to being injury prone. Haller's gone away from West Ham and started scoring goals again. So it's like, well, look, I am a good striker. That's just a bloody bad club. I don't think Scamacca's really delivered the same response as what Haller has post West Ham, if that makes sense. Anyway, we're coming to the end. There's a handful left. I think there's all the categories are going to get used up here. I know there's one in particular, Frankie, will be itching to put in terrible. There's someone I'm itching to put in fantastic. Actually, there's two I'm itching to put in fantastic. But before we get onto those, go Adam Wan-Bissaka.
I'm going to go good for now.
Yeah, I agree. I thought if you were going to say fantastic, I was going to give you a little bit of pushback on that.
I still find him, and more so this season, I find him awfully casual at times, Gio. I find him too relaxed. And while I don't mind a player playing with confidence, I feel sometimes he's happy to not get close enough to a defender because he thinks his pace will recover. I just find him a bit too blasé. I don't get it. I want to see him switch on a bit more and be a bit more like, so, but there's no question that last season he was in the conversation for Hammer of the Year. And
who did you vote for?
I don't know if
I voted for Bowen.
Yeah.
He was my runner-up, don't get me wrong, but
yeah. So he was in there. So he's certainly a good signing. I want to see a little bit more from him before I say he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's a great signing. And for 50 million, I think it's a really good price we've paid. I'm really happy with what I've seen from him. He just needs to maintain it. And if he maintains those levels of performances we've seen over his time at West Ham so far, he will go in fantastic. The only thing preventing him, well, you look at the top 5 at the minute, 3 of them have left West Ham. Now, if Wan-Bissaka, let's just say we sold Wan-Bissaka this summer for 20 million, I'd put him in fantastic. I'd say, look, we had a brilliant season out of him, made a little bit of money on him. That's a fantastic signing. So the only thing preventing him going higher is he just needs to do it over a longer period of time, which I feel quite confident he will. He's had a sloppy start to this season. I agree with you. He switches off, which is something he showed at Man U and possibly why Man U were willing to sell him. He does switch off. He's not always the best at the back post. And we've seen that against Chelsea where Neto just ran past him and scored. And he was just unaware of where the guy was. He didn't even know. So quite a start to the season for him. But someone I feel quite confident he'll have a good season overall this one. And he'll go on and become a fantastic signing for us. But in the meantime, I think I'm comfortable putting him in good. One of the more trickier ones, maybe Carlos Soler.
I'm between Met and Poor. I quite liked him. I thought he was technically quite a good player. I would rather him have stayed and Rodriguez gone because I feel like he had more to offer than Rodriguez. However, he probably wasn't right for the Premier League either, even though he could offer a bit more than Rodriguez did. But what did he really do? What did he really achieve? He had the odd game
away at Newcastle was outstanding, but apart from that,
So I'm a bit Met or Poor. I'll let you.
I'll put him in Met because it was a loan move, Frankie. I think because it was if we'd paid say 10, 15 million, I'd possibly knock him down one. I'm not sure we'd be stuck with him, wouldn't we? But put it like this: we had an option to buy him for 20 million in the loan move. At no point was I ever tempted to say trigger it.
Yeah.
And 20 million is not a massive fee for a Premier League club. So I think he came in, he was better at looking good than he was at being good.
Yeah.
I'll leave him in there. Here we go. Thomas Soucek.
Yeah, fantastic. Without any question.
Yeah, 100%. Incredible. 20 million. Huge part of our modern history, huge part of us staying up when he first arrived. Hammer of the Year, just incredible signing, top value. That's what you want when you buy a player. Summerville?
I'm going to go good for now. I think he'll be in that fantastic category if he stays injury-free. I think I've seen enough of him to suggest that he's better than a meh signing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because he's been injured for so long, hasn't he? It's hard. We've not even seen him for a season. Well, he's been here for a season, but he's been injured for half of it. And then the half that he was available, he was in and out of the team under Lopetegui. He hasn't really had a run yet, has he?
No.
So I'll be kind and keep him in good. I would put him in meh just purely because it feels like a new signing. But I also do like the player from what I've seen.
Looking at that meh category, I think other than Aguerd and Edson Alvarez, maybe the first three, Aguerd, Edson Alvarez and Areola, I think he's achieved more than every other one of those players on there. So
can't really argue with that, to be fair. Jean-Clair Todibo?
It's my biggest disappointment.
Yeah, I'm
on this whole board.
Where are you putting him? I'm putting him in poor for now.
Yeah, I'm putting him in poor. I had so much expectation for him. Yeah. I really thought he was going to come in and be, a proper signing for us. Someone who really made us solid at the back, but could play the ball, get the ball moving quicker out of defence. I fancied him big time, and it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah, I completely agree. Put it this way. If it was an option to buy instead of an obligation, and you said to me at the end of the season, we've paid 5 million loan fee for them, 30 million turned into permanent transfer. What are you doing? I said, no, thank you. Send him back to Nice. I don't like what I've seen so far. I was hopeful when he arrived that he'd be a good centre back for us. He's been unfit. And then this season, you speak of Wan-Bissaka being laid back. He's Mr. Horizontal. Looks a bit clumsy at times. Well, he's clearly got quality. You can see he's got quality sometimes, and he has had some good games. It's not all been bad, but 35, 40 million in between that we've paid for him overall. He doesn't really look like a defender worth that much money, and it's a bit concerning. Hopefully he figures it out, and if we do this next year, he's in one of the higher categories, a bit like Fulkrug, but yeah, I'm struggling to see at the minute. Here you go, Frankie. I'll let you take this one. Do you recognise him?
Is it Vlašić?
Yeah.
It is, yeah. Yeah. Oh, what more is there to say?
20 million, barely seen him.
Yeah.
Had to give him away. Well, we did. He went to Torino and did well. They had the option to buy him for 12 million, and they turned around to West Ham and said, no, thank you. I was like, hang on a minute, he's had a good season. I went, yeah, we want to buy him. We're just not paying that 12 million. And we went, well, you're not having him. And then there was this Mexican standoff. And in the end, we had to go back to Torino and be like, can you please buy him? And they were like, yeah, but we're not paying the 12 million. I don't know how much they paid in the end. I think it was between 8 and 10 million or something. So they didn't even have to pay what they were meant to pay.
See, but why do other clubs manage to do that, Gio? Why don't we do that? This tier list would look a lot better if we negotiated in that way.
Yeah, I mean, the Todibo one, I said on Patreon, and we're an hour and 15 in, so I can hide it in here as well. And when I look at Chelsea with Sancho, they'd loaned Sancho, and at the end of the season, had to pay 25 million to sign him or whatever it was, or 5 million to send him back. And they said, well, we'll pay 5 million, you can take him back, we'll just save 20 million. And I wonder if that option should have been there in our loan thing with Nice, and we possibly should have activated it and said, well, even if we've then paid 5 million to not sign him, we've still got 25 million. We should be able to go get a better centre back for 25 million. And I would argue we could have done. And I think it was just a bad transfer. But we'll wait and see. Right, we've got two more. Someone who's just left the club this week, Frankie, Wes Fodringham.
It's another one of them.
Yeah, just third choice goalkeeper. We didn't see him play. We shouldn't see him play. Fine. Yeah, all good. And last one. Zoom.
Again, part of the reason why we achieved what we did. Knees aside, I think it was fantastic. Again, captained us to glory. Just an absolute warrior at the back. Again, when he signed, did we ever think he would achieve what he achieved with West Ham? I don't think we could have dreamed how successful that would be. So it's got to be fantastic for me.
I agree. 80% fit in our best centre-back.
Yeah.
Even though he was broken, he was still our best centre-back consistently. when he was fit. And there was a bit of the Ledley King about him. Ledley King was never fit, but when he was, he started and he was good. And Zuma was like that for us. This is why I think sometimes an injury-prone player isn't necessarily a bad signing. And they are few and far between, but Zuma is a prime example of why it can work. Now, you need to make sure you've got other good centre-backs, and you've got plenty of centre-backs, but when he's 80%, he's better than the 100% fit centre-backs. That's how good he was. I think for 25 million, I think we squeezed every ounce of value out of that deal. We squeezed every ounce of playing ability and capability out of Kurt Zouma. And when he played, quite often he was just magnificent. He's one of the best centre-backs I've seen at West Ham. If he was 100%, if he wasn't broken, he wouldn't play for West Ham. He would have stayed at Chelsea. He would have had a career higher up the league table. I thought he was absolutely brilliant for us. I loved Kurt Zouma. Anyway, there you go, Frankie. That's our tier list. I'm going to run through them very quickly. We can make any changes together. And if there's one you want to change without my permission, you're more than welcome to do so. In fantastic, we've got Jarrod Bowen, Vladimir Coufal, we've got Craig Dawson, Jesse Lingard, Lucas Paqueta, Thomas Soucek, and Kurt Zouma. In the good category, got Saeed Benrahma, David Martin, Emerson, Pablo Fornals, Mohammed Kudus, Konstantinos Mavropanos, Wan-Bissaka, and we've got Crysencio Summerville. In the meh category, for one reason or another, we've got Naif Aguerd, we've got Edson Alvarez, we've also got Alphonse, Areola, Flynn Downes, we've got Louis Guilherme in there with Andy Irving and Thilo Kehrer, Darren Randolph, Carlos Soler, and Wes Fodringham too. In the poor category, we've got Albian Ajeti, we've got Nicholas Füllkrug, Sebastian Haller, James Ward-Prowse, Max Kilman, and Jean-Clair Todibo. That's a very expensive tier, isn't it? What's that? 35, 75, 105, 145, 150, 170, 180 million pound, that tier, which is 6 players. Average price of 30 million. Which is why they're in poor, though, isn't it? And then in terrible, got Maxwell Cornet with Evan Ferguson. Frankie's got Guido Rodriguez in there. We've got Danny Ings, Calvin Phillips. We've got Alex Kral, Roberto, Gianluca Scamacca, and Nikola Vlašić. I feel like I'm quite happy with that. Is there anyone you'd like to move? Are you going to play a card? Anyone you're going to move?
I don't feel like I need to. I feel like we agreed far more than I thought we would, Geo. That was, yeah.
I was going to move Rodriguez, but I'll leave it. I won't be. I'll be nice. I'll be nice to you. So there you go. So the thing is, right, as much as we criticise a lot of the transfers, there is still a lot in fantastic, and there's still plenty in good. Do you know what I mean? There's more in fantastic than poor, albeit there's more in terrible than there is in fantastic. But 3 of those in the terrible category are loan moves, which I think you can eliminate to some extent. I think I can ignore loan moves being bad. So Kral, Phillips, and Ferguson, I'm able to, do you know what I mean? Look past it a little bit because it's a loan move. But yeah, so the big ones have worked out really good. So there you go. That's the tier list. Anything you'd like to add, Frankie?
No, it would have been interesting, Joe, if you could actually have the facts on whether or not, which we'll never know, but whether or not it was made by the manager's choice or David Sullivan's choice. It would have been very interesting to see who come out winning.
I agree with that one. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm inclined to say the manager because I feel like Bowen was a Moyes signing. I think Coufal was a Thomas Soucek signing, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think Dawson was Moyes. I think Lingard was Moyes. I think Paqueta, believe it or not, I think was Moyes because Stuart Pearce has spoken about how when we played Lyon, he was the one that they really liked. Soucek, I think, was... Oh, what was his name? I forgot his name now. The guy before Kyle McCauley. I forgot his name.
Talking about, yeah.
And I think Kurt Zouma was a Moyes signing as well. I could be a bit generous here to Moyes, but I feel like they were all David Moyes signings, bar Coufal, which was off the recommendation of Thomas Soucek. Again, could be wrong. Happy to be proven wrong, if you like. But I feel like that's what... Funny enough, the good category, I feel like, was mainly the board, because Benrahma, Moyes preferred Eze, but we end up with Benrahma.
Yeah.
David Martin will move on because of the low cost involved. Emerson, I'm not sure. Fornals, I'm not sure how we end up signing him, to be honest with you. Kudus, we believe, was a Martin Noble suggestion, and then the club liked it. Again, Mavropanos, I'm not sure. I feel like that was Tim Steiden here then?
Don't know.
Wan-Bissaka, I think, was, let's just say, the board via the agency. Yeah. And Summerville was David Sullivan.
Yeah.
And we've got Aguerd, don't know, Alvarez, Martin Noble, Areola, I'm not sure. Downes, I struggle to say that was a Moyes one, given the lack of game time he got. Guilherme, we know, was Tim Steiden. Irving was Tim Steiden. Kehrer, don't know. Randolph had ties to the club previously. Solar was Steiden. And Wes Fodringham, I think it was just a situational signing again. Ajeti definitely wasn't a Moyes signing. That is not someone Moyes would have picked up. Fulkrug was Steiden. Haller, I think, was I know was the board. I know that. Ward-Prowse was Moyes. Kilman was Lopetegui. Todibo was Steiden. Cornet, any idea?
No idea on that. Well, how that even happened, I don't know.
I don't know. Ferguson, you would assume, was Potter. Rodriguez, Lopetegui. Ings, there's conflicting stories about whether it's Moyes or the board. But
I would have said Bald, but
I do as well. I think Phillips was Moyes. I think Moyes, type of player, I think Moyes was like Kral, I think was the board because Moyes just had no interest in him whatsoever. Roberto, I think, might have been Huselos, weren't it?
Yeah, Huselos, that's his name, yeah.
Scamacca. Tony Henry? No, Rob Newman. It was Rob Newman. I remember that being Rob Newman signing. And then we had Nikola Vlašić. I can't tell you, but again, it doesn't feel like a Moyes signing, given that Moyes didn't really play him too much. So
yeah,
I think Moyes actually looks all right in the getting back as director of football. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. Don't be shy, get involved in the comments below. Let us both know which tier you would put each signing. That's the last 40. A massive thank you to Mark for the suggestion. And if you've made it to the end, an hour and 22 minutes in, thank you so much for putting up with us. Please do drop a like on it before you disappear. Subscribe to Hammers Chat. Myself and Frankie. Catch you in a bit.